We officially have our first look at Doctor Doom in the upcoming Avengers Doomsday, and I gotta say it is mind-blowing. They did a fantastic job on it, and I could not be more excited about the way that they are portraying Doctor Doom on screen. So I thought overall it'd be fun to talk about overall thoughts on our, opinions on the way it looks, and then also Avengers Doomsday as a whole. There's been a lot of talk about Chris Evans returning, how is Cap coming back, and the biggest question in everybody's mind is, why does Doctor Doom look like Tony Stark? Why does he look like Robert Downey Jr.? Everybody wants to know how they're going to tackle this and what their explanation is going to be. So I thought it'd be fun to break down a video talking about our overall thoughts on all of this. But before we get into that, please consider that like button, subscribe to the channel. We are desperately trying to hit 1,000 subs before the end of the year. I know we can do it. We just need your help, and I appreciate you guys as always. But getting back into the video, I'm going to start out by saying I love the way that they are portraying Doctor Doom. If this official artwork is legit, I have no reason to believe why it's not. It's at an official, Disney presentation for film. And, all these renders and, concept arts have been sent out to toy companies, promotion companies forever ago, especially now that Doomsday has been, delayed. So that official artwork is out there. That way these toy manufacturers and all that can actually build the toys, like the Hot Toys, the statues, the Marvel Legends, you name it, the Funko Pops. So it's out there. So I have no reason to believe that this is not it. And I got to say, I absolutely love it. I was nervous at first that they were going to go full modernize him and make him look kind of like closer to, Stark tech and like Iron Man armor. And I'm glad they did not do that at all. They went full traditional comic, traditional Doctor Doom. And it is like chef's kiss, Marvel. You did an outstanding job. And I know a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but I've seen some people out there complaining about it. I don't know how much better they could have done it. That looks like Doctor Doom. That is comic accurate, classic Doctor Doom, and I cannot wait to see how that is portrayed on screen. Granted, from official, concept art to on screen can, look a little different. But if that's the direction we're going, they are absolutely so far nailing it, and I could not be more excited. Now, getting into Doomsday itself, there's been a lot of talk about Chris Evans, joining the film and Captain America. How is he going to do it? Is he going to be a variant? Is it going to be the same variant that we came across in Avengers Endgame? And I believe it is going to be. So my time to shine, hello, decided to say that from what they're hearing is that there was, when Steve Rogers went back in time to live with Peggy Carter after he returned all the Infinity Stones and decided to, create a branch timeline with Peggy Carter, and ultimately caused an incursion that killed, Doctor Doom's family and his universe. So Steve caused an incursion that killed the Doctor Doom that we're going to follow in Avengers Doomsday's family. And Doctor Doom's obviously pissed, so that's why he's on a hunt and he wants to kill Steve Rogers. Me personally, I don't like that. I think that's lazy. It makes no sense at all. Like, Doctor Doom's motives and things of that nature are always more, it's just more gravitas. Like, I just don't, that doesn't seem like Doctor Doom to me. Now, what I think is going to happen, this is a theory that I heard. I did not come up with this by myself, but after I heard this and I thought, I think he's onto something. This was from Josh of the Den of Nerds, and out of everything I've heard and all the things that I came up with myself, I think this makes the most logical sense. And I honestly like it. I know a lot of people don't like it, but me personally, I like it. And if you go back to an interview with the Russo brothers, they said that with Avengers Doomsday, they're going to really try the average movie-going audience, have them think, and it's not just going to be so linear like most films like to do for just the average moviegoer, which is fine. They're going to really, mess with the audience here, and I like that. They're going to bring it all the way back to Endgame. The events of Avengers Endgame are going to have effects onto the greater multiverse, and I like that because it brings everything back to the Infinity Saga. It makes everything feel connected again. It brings stakes back to everything that they did in Avengers Endgame, because they did a lot. They did a whole time heist and took Infinity Stones out of different, time periods and technically realities, different, streams of the tree that Loki's holding. Like, so they did a lot. And I'm glad that we're going to get some repercussions to this. And this is the next Avengers movie directed by the same directors and writers. So it makes sense that this would be a direct follow-up to Avengers Endgame, and that those events would have effect on the greater multiverse as a whole, leading into Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret War. Now, I think where they're going with this is, of course, at the end of Avengers Doomsday, Steve Rogers gets on that, time machine and decides to go back in time with Mjolnir, return all the Infinity Stones, and then it is revealed at the end of the movie that he got to stay with Peggy Carter and live out his lifestyle. He comes back as Old Man Cap, gives his shield to, Sam, and which is a whole other, can of worms itself that we're all trying to figure out how does that work out. But that could still tie into how I feel like they're going to handle this based off what, I heard, and I think this makes a lot of sense. So I think when he went back to do his time heist to bring back not his time heist, when he went back in time to return all the stones to deliver Peggy Carter, I believe, based off what I'm hearing, that Steve Rogers came into contact with the TVA. Because, of course, that would, result in the TVA wanting to say, hey, buddy, what are you doing type thing. And then also in Loki Season 1, Loki is told what the Avengers did was supposed to happen. So I think how that was supposed to happen, why that was okay to happen, because when Steve Rogers was going back to Return on the Stones, he came in contact with the TVA and he learned about everything. He learned about the multiverse, he learned about He Who Remains, the Sacred Timeline, learned completely everything. And I think he was told if he starts to work for the TVA, that he could have his timeline with Peggy Carter and live happily ever after. And the reason why I think that is because if you go back to Avengers Endgame, Loki got the Tesseract and he disappeared and he came into contact with the TVA. The second they capture him, they pruned that branch timeline that he created by escaping. I feel like they would have done the same exact thing with Steve Rogers, him creating a whole new timeline to live with Peggy Carter, because the Russo brothers have also confirmed that yes, he created a branch timeline when he did that. So now the big question is, well, if he created a branch timeline, how would he show up at the end of Endgame to give Sam the shield? You know, I think by that time, that Steve Rogers that we saw as old man, he already lived through Secret Wars. He did everything. He knows multiversal travel. He knows all of it. So he would have easily been able to, you know, come to our timeline at that exact point in time to give Sam the shield. So I think that's how he's doing. I think that old man Steve Rogers already lived through Secret Wars, and that's why he doesn't tell Sam the story about, you know, with Peggy Carter and everything. But I think Steve is working for the TVA so that way he can, you know, ultimately live with Peggy Carter. And I think what's going to set off Doom is that Doom's going to learn about the whole multiverse. He's going to learn about He Who Remains. He's going to learn about the TVA and learn about Steve Rogers and learn that Steve Rogers learned about all the lies, learned how all the realities are fake, how He Who Remains created this fake reality to fit what he thought was perfect for the Sacred Timeline, what fit his, you know, his motive and his narrative. And he still chose not to stop it when he probably had the power to do it because he wanted to selfishly live with Peggy Carter, which honestly, this is probably the first selfish thing he has done, because in Steve Rogers' eyes, even with Civil War and everything, he is thinking of the greater good. He's thinking of people amongst him before himself. So this is the first time he probably was, you know, selfish, and he wanted his happily ever after. He felt like he earned it, and, you know, honestly, he did. But Doom is probably going to be pissed off that Steve Rogers, you know, learned everything and decided to still stick with Peggy Carter and not caring about, you know, the outcome with the incursions and everything like that. So obviously that is going to put Dr. Doom on a path to want to kill Steve Rogers, because he's probably going to be on a path, not just Steve Rogers, but wanting to kill either Anchor Beans or anybody that he knows personally caused an incursion. And obviously Steve Rogers is going to be on that list. So I think that's how he's going to kind of, you know, be in the film. So I don't think Steve Rogers' Captain America is going to be a big part of the film. He's just going to be a section of it to kind of bring him back to the universe and to kind of set him up for for Secret Wars. I mean, so I think that's why Chris Evans is coming back. And me personally, I like that. I know a lot of people were skeptical about that, but I like it because it brings it back to Avengers Endgame. It brings back repercussions from Avengers Endgame and Infinity War and the whole Infinity Saga up until now. It kind of brings it all full circle. Me personally, I like it, and I think it's different. I think if you just go back and, you know, that reality and grab Steve to have him come fight Doom, I think that's lazy. I think this gives it more of a story and it ties it back to the lore of the MCU as a whole. So that's how I feel like they're going to bring Chris Evans, Captain America, back, and why Doom is on the hunt and why he wants to kill them. Again, Josh from Dinner Nerds came up with that theory, and out of everything I've heard, I thought that was fantastic, and I loved it. Like, I thought that's for me, that's perfect. If they don't do that, I don't know what they're going to do. I hope they don't just do... I don't know. I hope it's not what My Time to Shine Hello said, where Captain America caused an incursion that killed Doom's family, and now he's on the manhunt for Captain America. I don't like that. I want something more intricate like that. Whether it's that or not, I want something along those lines. I wanted to tie back to older Avengers movies with Avengers Endgame. Now, getting into the RDJ side of it, why does Dr. Doom look like Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man? Now, I think because in every other reality, Robert Downey Jr. is Dr. Doom, except for in the 616, because He Who Remained created 616 in his image the way he wanted it. So he removed the X-Men, he removed the Fantastic Four, obviously moved Dr. Doom. Anything that he thought was a major threat to oppose him, to stop him from what he wanted to accomplish with the Sacred Timeline, he took out of it, which is why all we got was the Avengers and the few heroes that we got. So I think in every other reality, like I said, that Robert Downey Jr.'s was Dr. Doom, except in the 616. Now, why do I think this is because if you go all the way back to Avengers Endgame, when, you know, Tony Stark's doing that time heist, he's confronted by his father in an elevator, and his father mentions that his wife is expecting. Now, Tony Stark looks, you know, surprised by that, and at the time, we could have took that as, oh, he didn't realize that he was about to be born. No, he looked shocked because they didn't really match up and make time for him. I think that was the original Tony Stark, the one that was in the womb at that time. And unfortunately, that child did not make it. So Tony Stark was never actually birthed into the 616. And so the Stark family desperately wanting a child, they adopt a little boy who happens to be from Latveria, which is Victor. So they adopt Victor Von Doom, and he is raised as Tony Stark in this reality and the 616 and the Sacred Timeline. And I think that's why Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man are going to look the same. Or I think that's why Doctor Doom and Iron Man are going to look the same. And I think during the events of Fantastic Four, we saw that post-credit scene of him with Franklin Richards. I think, and we all thought that was him going to kidnap Franklin Richards. No, I think that was Doom going to Reed Richards and Sue Storm, letting him know about everything that he learned about the multiverse, because I think he is the Doctor Doom from 828, from the Fantastic Four film, which is why he wasn't present in the film. Let them know everything about the Sacred Timeline, He Who Remains, and how in this reality there is a variant of him that is Iron Man instead of, Doctor Doom. And honestly, as Doctor Doom, that would probably piss them off because we all know that he is super cocky. So I think something along those lines is how they're going to, explain why Doctor Doom looks like Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. To me, those are the two logical things as far as Steve Rogers goes and Iron Man goes. Those are the two logical things that I think make the most sense for storytelling and as far as lore from the MCU. Because if you think about it, they can do a lot of cool stuff with that concept. And there's been rumors of Doctor Doom appearing in the events of Iron Man 1. So we can say, they can tie Doctor Doom into different aspects of the MCU to kind of make you look at it differently when you're going back to watch the Infinity Saga, which I think is great storytelling. I know it's not 100% comic accurate, but for the sake of the lore of the MCU, I think it makes sense, and I personally like it a lot. But those are my overall theories on how they're going to handle Doctor Doom and, why he looks like Tony Stark and how they're going to incorporate Steve Rogers into, Captain America coming back after the events of Endgame, and my overall thoughts on the look of Doctor Doom. Now I want to hear from you guys down below in the comments. Did anything I said make sense? Do you guys like those two theories? Do you guys completely hate them? Let me know what you guys would prefer them to do in Avengers Doomsday as far as why he looks like Tony Stark and how they're going to incorporate Steve Rogers. I want to hear from all you guys down below in the comments. Don't forget that like button, subscribe to the channel. And as always, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.